There will be a replay of it available on michaels.com/classes, and you can find it under the jewelry section now for the replay. And as I said a second ago, the class is recorded. So, you know, if you have questions, it'll be great to just leave them in the chat and we'll try to answer them during class. And I'm Danielle Wicks with John Bead, and I'm here to teach you guys the Starflower Mandala, which is a seed bead design, exclusively seed beads, just the seed beads and thread. That's all you need, and some ear wires. And it's constructed with size 6 seed beads and size 11 seed beads. So any color will work of size 11s and size 6. You can use a mix, you can use a solid color, whatever you like. And let's see, any other starting notes? I think that's everything. I'm Danielle from John Bead. I'm here with Michaels teaching the Starflower mandalas. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my camera that shows you my mat and the project. And so here's a finished earring. And so we'll go through this step by step of making these. They're really fun. You can create so many colors. Earlier today, I made a solid. I thought that was really fun. And so the thread that I'm going to use today, well, first I'll show you the beads. The size 6 seed beads are here, size 11s. Any color will work. I grabbed these blue right before class because I had an idea for the blue with the copper. I thought it might be really fun. And the thread I'm going to use is the .006 Wildfire. You can use any of the colors. Today I'm using black. I'm using these scissors. These are the Recollections Precision Scissors for cutting my thread. And let's see, I'm using size 10 beading needles. And when we get to the end and we put on the ear wire, any ear wires will work. The ones that I have on hand that I'm using came in a little 3-pack like this, but you can get any ear wire that you like and use that. I will be pulling a few jump rings out of one of my findings packs. So you'll just need 2 little jump rings, or sorry. Yeah, just 2, 1 for each earring, if I remember that right. Okay, so let's get started. And this project is quick. I should be able to go through it more than one time. And then I have a few samples that are kind of halfway through, so I can show you some of the steps twice as well. So for your thread, a comfortable length of working thread, about 36 inches or so, is all you need. For your beading needle, again, that's the size 10 hard beading needles. And I'm going to show you guys a little trick for getting them threaded. I lost my needle here. Sorry, guys. There we go. There it is. Okay. So a trick to threading your needle with Wildfire is you can flatten it with your chain nose pliers. There we go. Sorry about that. Flattening it without pulling it. So you don't want to, you know, take the color off of the thread, but just flatten it one time. And then go through. And so pull this down about, let's see, I usually do about 7 inches, and I think that's what I said in the starter here. Yeah, about 7 inches, and fold it over. And we're going to leave about a 10-inch tail. So if you're using one of those bead mats, about the length of your bead mat is perfect for that. And so here's some size 6 seed beads. And here's some size 11s. And it doesn't matter really what order you pick it up in, but we're going to have 5 size 6 and 5 size 11s on the needle. And I'm going to go for the copper colored ones and skipping the blue for now. This mix that I'm using, in case anybody's curious, it's called Rusty and Blues. And its complementary color is aqua. So it's a transparent dark aqua. All right, so I've got 3 there. 4. How many is that? Okay, and 5. So once you've got 5 11s and 5 6s, bring it down, leaving a 10-inch tail. About that much, yeah. Now you're going to need to go back through all the beads again. So I leave it kind of in a straight line first, just to make it easier to just get the needle through all the beads in one swoop there. Okay. And pull tight. And then what you'll want to do is go back through the 11 and the 6, the next ones. And it'll form a circle. And so we don't need any more 6s for now. I'm going to put those out of the way. We're going to work with 11s here for a little bit. So you want to pick up 5 size 11s. And so we're exiting from the 6 going that way. I'm going to go through that same 6 in the same direction. So going in the direction of my tail. Or sorry, the opposite direction of my tail there. And now go through the 11 and the 6 next. And again, pick up 5 size 11s. And then turn and go back through the 6. And again, I'm going through the 11 and through the 6. And it's that same step going around where you pick up 5 11s. And then loop through. Sorry, loop around the 6. And go through. You go through that next 11 and the next 6. And 5 more going through. Okay, last one. And so there's my tail thread. I'm just kind of moving that out of the way so you can see this one, the working side here. Okay, so now we've got loops of 5 seed beads around every one of the 6s there. To tighten it up, I'm going to go through another 11 and another 6. And before we go on to the next step, there's one short step here that will save you some time later. Grab another needle if you've got one handy. If you don't, you can swap the needles, or you can also leave this to the end, but I think it makes it easier because the next steps can tend to bury the tail thread. So I'm going to put a needle on my tail thread and thread another needle here. Okay. So this is exiting from an 11. So I'm going to go through the next 6. And then come up the side through 3 11s. And that's one of the little loops we added. Through 1, 2, 3 of the 11s. That puts you out on the peak of one of the ones we're going to use. We're going to kind of net around those later. So just set that aside. You can leave the needle on it if you want. We will use that later. And I'm just tightening everything up here. Okay. So over here, I have my working thread exiting from a size 6. I'm going to pick up 5 more 11s. And I'm just going to repeat what we did before. with, is that 5? Yeah, 5 there. And trying to keep the new layer on top of the last one that I had. So I'm going through the 6 again with 5, and I'm going in the direction that will make them loop together like that. So you see I've got 2 sides here. And now we'll continue through to the next 6, going through that 11 that was in the original ring. And add 5 more. And going back through the same 6. And here you're going through the next 11 and the next 6. And add 5 more. I'm just going to do that all the way around. I have 2 more to go. Let's go through the next one here. I've got a tight bead. I'm going to use this to pull it through. Hope it makes it. There we go. I'm picking up 5 more 11s and going through the 6. Okay, last one. Going through the, let's see, this is the next 11 here and the next 6. And I'm going to add 5 more 11s. Go back through the 6. Okay. So now is the part where we're going to add size 6 seed beads around. And I'm exiting from a 6 here. I need to get up to be at one of the peaks. So the 3rd bead in one of the 5 that we've added around. It doesn't matter which one. But because this is the one I just added and it's going to be loose, you see I can still move it. I'm going to go through the other one. I know that one's tight. It was added in the last ring. And it'll also mean I'm exiting from the opposite side of where that tail thread was. Which gives me a chance to tighten it, see? And now I'm going to add 3 size 6 seed beads. And I think I'm going to go copper, blue, copper. And so each of these loops that we put around the 6 has a center point. It's the 3rd one. You'll want to go through the next one and the next 3rd 11. And then join it. And so for this step, we're only going to join the top ones here. And on the next step, I'll show you when we're going to connect these bottom ones. But you'll see there's essentially 2 layers here that we've made. We're going through this layer with size 6 seed beads. So here's another set of 3. Got 3 more here. And I'm going to go through 1, 2, 3. There's the 3rd one. Three more here. And 3 more.
Hi, Danielle, it's Carmi.
Hey.
You have a couple people just having a little bit of a hard time seeing. So if there's any way you could just show the beads from a side angle. I know the camera has difficulty focusing, but it's hard, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, and let me try something here. I do have a light. Sometimes it makes a glare, but is that better? Or is it too much glare?
think it's better.
Is it better? Okay, let's go with that. And let me show the side. So what we did in this design is we have this layers. We put layers of layers of 5 size 11s over the 6s. And just we looped around and did that on this ring here, the original ring of 5, which was 5 6s and 5 11s. And so what it kind of does is it leaves you with a way to go 3D here. And what I'm doing for this round is just adding 3 size 6 beads in between each of those peaks, which since there's 5, the third one is the center point. And so if you do that 5 times, you'll join that first one. Just what I've done here. And go through that same size 11 again. And I'll repeat this again. I'll probably repeat it in a different color so you guys can see. Maybe another color will work a little better with the camera. But that's, you know, the first round with the 6s for the edge. And so I'll go up through just one of the 6s now. Pick up one size 11. Go through 1 6. 1 11. Go through 1 6. And now this is where we're going to change layers. So I went through that arm and we built this onto the top here. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to pick up this bottom one now. So there's 1, 2, here's a third one in the next ring there. And it locks those two together. It gives it some bulk. You could build this with only one layer of those 5s going around, but then the sides would bend on each other. It wouldn't hold its shape. So that's really the only reason for making it 2 layered like that, is to make it hold its shape when it's dangling as an earring. And so now I'm picking up another 11. I went through the peak and through the next 6. Picking up another 11. Go through there. Through 1 6, sorry. And then go through another 6 with an 11. And then again, we're going to pick up that peak from the other side here on the 3rd bead. Go through the next 6. And things will start to, you know, it'll start to pull its shape together a little bit more as you do this pass. And so you'll see what I mean about adding that layer just gives it something. So went through the top peak of the next one. First 6. And then adding 11s in between each of those 6s. So there's 1. And another one. Okay, and then go through this peak here. And this is the last one. And then I'm thinking we'll start over before we do the finishing loop. So go through this one. Just adding 11s there. And now there's the last peak right there. And I'm going to join it by going through that next 11. And now I'm back where I started. And you can actually just knot at this point. So going through an 11. I'm going through here and tying just a little 1/2 inch knot in front of the size 11 bead. Go through the 6 and go through the 11 and put another knot in between that 11 and the next 6. Oops. Too fast there. Got it. Okay. And so once you've done 2 knots, it's up to you. You can go through another peak and do another set of knots. I might just do one more really quick. And then we'll go start another one. Going through that loop, tying a 1/2 inch knot and going through the 6 there. Okay, I'm going to trim that. Okay, and so all I have left here is this was my original tail. And it's exiting from one of the peaks in between the 6s there, but let's set this aside for now. And I'm just going to start another one. And really quickly, I'm thinking I'll grab one of these. Let's scoop these up really quick. And I'd like to just do a quick color test with you guys and see what color you think is easiest to see. I'm sort of leaning towards the green, but what do you think of those gold beads? Are those, let me show you on a mat here. So we could do that, or we could try to go with more of a turquoise. What do you think? Turquoises or golds?
Danielle, I think everyone loves the gold, and no problem.
Okay.
If you have a dark purple, but I think I'm looking and the turquoise looks like it's really going to stand out too, but the gold would be great.
Okay, let's go with the gold. And then what I'll do is I'll pull in a purple. Like a purple with the gold, do you think?
Yes.
Okay.
So it might not be your color choice, but it's great for the camera.
No, that's perfect. And actually, it'll be kind of nice too. Let's see. So for a purple, we could do metallic, or we could do muted.
I say muted.
Muted. Okay. All right. That's actually very cute. Okay. Let's go with new strand. I'm going to cut a new strand, 36 inches or so. I've actually found that less than that works, but you can be sure you got enough thread if you go 36 inches. And I'm going to just do that little trick with the pliers really quick to make the needle easier to thread. Just flattening it. And got another needle here somewhere hiding. I just pulled it. Let me use that one. Okay. I'm pulling down 7 inches down, folding it over. And now I'm going to pick up 5 6s and 5 11s, alternating from each other. It doesn't matter what order you pick them up in. Okay, so now I've got 5 11s, and I've got 5 6s. Bring that down, leaving a 10-inch tail. And then you'll want to go through all the beads again. And go back through the 11. And I actually just went through a bunch here. That's okay. It'll form a circle. And now just pick up 5 size 11 seed beads. And you'll want to go back through the 6. So this is my working thread exiting here. I'm going to go in this direction. And that'll form a loop of 5 seed beads on top of that 6. I'm going to repeat that all the way around. So I need to go through the next 11 and the next 6. And then pick up 5. And go loop around that 6. It looks like I already went through the 11, so now I just need to go through the next 6. I'm picking up 5 more. And it's a little loose right now. Don't worry about that. You can tighten it all as you're working, and at the end you'll get another opportunity to tighten it. I've been kind of doing that as I go. You'll see me tugging on the tail thread a little bit to tighten that up. So here's 5 more size 11 beads. Going back through the 6 here. I'm going to catch the 11 there too. Ignoring that tail thread for now. Go through the last 6 here and make the last loop of 5. And I went through the next 11, that's okay. Yeah, it's what it wanted to do. And then going through the next 6. Okay, so everything we just did, where we added 5 11s, went through the 6, went through the next 11, went through the next 6, added 5 11s, went through the 6, sorry, the 11, yeah, the 6, the 11, the 6, and then we're going to repeat what we just did again, adding a layer on top of each of these so that you end up with 2 layers. Here's, I'm pulling in another sample to show you. You end up with these kind of 2 sides. And so that's what I'm going to do here really quickly is just pick up 5 size 11 seed beads. Here's 5. I'm going to go back through the 6. Here's my working thread exiting the 6. I'm going to go back through that same size 6 seed bead. And then keeping that new layer on top. As you can see, it sits just right there. And now I'm just going to travel to the next place where I want to do that again. So I need to go through 111, which is the one in the ring, the original ring we had. And then through that next 6. There's 5 more. Go through there. Next 11, next 6. And then adding another layer of 5 size 11s on top of that one by going through the 6 here. So I'm going through that next 11 in the ring and the next 6. Add 5 more. And go through that same size 6 seed bead. And this is my old tail thread. I'm pulling my tail thread out of the way. And then making sure those new 5s sit on top of the old 5. And I've got one more to do. So going through this 11 and the next 6. And adding 5 size 11s, go through the 6 again. And that layer sits right on top. So there's all of that finished. And to tighten it up, I always just go through one more set. So I'm going to go through the 11 and the next 6. And now I'm going to travel up. So I'm traveling up through one of those loops that we made. And it doesn't matter which one you travel up. You just want to make sure you're exiting from the 3rd bead or the center bead, or sometimes you'll hear me I'm calling that the peak bead a lot because it actually becomes a star peak. So you see how it's loose here, but on this side, it's definitely showing that it's the peak bead. So that's what we're going to do here by using size 6s. But before I do that, as I was showing you guys in the last sample, it makes sense to bring the tail thread, which becomes useful at the end. We're going to use it to put the top loop on. If you bring the tail thread up through the side peaks on one of these samples, then it will help you later. Let's see if I can find another needle here. Here we go. Okay, so it's exiting right now from, where is it? It's from one of these side 11s, sorry, the 11s in my original ring. So I'm going to go through the next 6. And then just come up through 3 seed beads on the side. And then we'll just ignore that for now. Okay, so now it's time to add the size 6 seed beads. Exiting from the 3rd size 11 in above one of the 6s, whichever one you're at. Pick up 3 of the size 6 beads and just go through the next peak. So the next peak being 1, 2, 3, 3rd bead above one of those 6s. And we're just going to do that around the whole thing here. So I've got 3 6s and I'm counting 1, 2, 3. Here's the 3rd bead here. This is pretty, this purple with the gold. To get you guys the color on this in a second here. So now I've counted 1, 2, 3 11s, going through the 3rd 11 there over the next peak there. Three more. And the last 3. So here's 3 more size 6 seed beads. And I'm going to go through that 3rd size 11, which happens to be the one that we originally exited when we started this step. And there it is. So that's one side done. And we're through that size 11. That's the peak 11 that we were starting at. Now I'm going to continue through 111, or sorry, continue through one of the 6s. You see, I'm just continuing on going through the next 6 in a row. Pick up an 11 and go through the next size 6 seed bead. And do that again with another 11. Go through the next 6. And now here's where we're going to, so we went through the 3rd size 11 seed bead on this side. But remember, we have all those other ones on the other side. So I'm going to flip this over. You can see they're all kind of wonky there. I'm going to pick up the 3rd one. So 1, 2, 3, above that 6, the next one. You can see I went through this one. It's the 3rd of the 5 that we added in those loops. And pull tight and it makes a little start point. So go through that next 6. And add those 11s again. And this is my tail thread. I'm just going to pull it over here. Adding another 11 and going through the next 6. And now I'm going to pick up the next star peak here. So that's the 3rd 11. It's also the one my tail thread's coming out of. And through the next 6. Pick up an 11 and go through the next one. And one more here. I went through the next size 6. Now I'm going to go through that next peak, which is that 3rd size 11 seed bead. And come up through the next 6. I'm going to need some more gold here. This is just called gold metallic. Oops. They're trying to escape the mat here. I'm going to move them. All right, got one more. Okay, and so this one's a little wonky. Let me count. 1, 2, got the third here. That's the third, size 11. And like it just makes a star point. And then again, adding an 11 in between each of those size 6 beads on the side. And finding that last point. So here's the third one. And I'll come through there and go through the next one. Okay. So that's the construction right there. And so all we have left to do from this point is to weave in and tie off and then make the loop for hanging it. And there's, I'm going to show you the way that I've done it on the samples first, and then I can share some other ideas that I had as well for that. So I just went through the 11 and now I'm going underneath, pulling a loop and coming through that loop again. And just making sure it sits in front of the 11 when I do that. The knot is bigger than the 11, so it will stay in place. But if you knot in front of the 6s, it could slide back into the 6 and won't be as tight. It won't come undone, but it won't cinch up the way you might want it to. Because this is one of the steps where if I've got a loose spot, I use this step to fix it. And this spot is a little loose. As you guys can see, it's kind of a little more air there than I want, so I'm going to tighten it up really good. Okay, going through here. There we go. I'm going to do one more. Okay. And I went through the next 6, and then I went through an 11, which was the 11 that's in between those two, the peak. Coming up through another 11, and 2 knots is fine. I'm just doing 3 because I want to make this side tighter. So coming from under here and one more knot. Okay, and once you've tied the last knot and you're happy with that, go through a 6 and go ahead and trim it. And so I usually just push with some intention, pushing down, pulling up, and that tail should disappear. Okay, so what we're left with is your already threaded tail exiting from one of the peak size 11 beads, and that's right where you want it to be. So you'll want to pick up 4 size 11s, and don't worry, I'm going to show this twice. I have 2 samples ready to go to show this step again, but I picked up 4 11s. And now paying attention to where I'm exiting here. I'm exiting in that direction through an 11. Flip it over and go through the 11 on the other side. So that's the peak on the, the one in the other dimension on the other side. And go through there. And I'll come back up through all 4 of those beads. And now I remember from before, my thread was going that way. So just to even it up, I'm going to go in this direction through that same 11 that I was exiting when we started, just for symmetry. And what it does is it locks that 11 on top. And so there's your loop. We'll put a jump ring in there, and then we'll put an ear wire on it. So I'm going to go back through that one time to reinforce it. And this is the same thing we just did. So I went through all 4 beads. And I'm going to go through the 11 on the other side. That's one of the peak 11s that we made earlier. And then going through that, come back through all 4 And so this is my third pass through those 11s. So it's starting to get a little bit tight. That's good. And again, I'm going to go this direction because I remember exiting that way. Okay. And that's it. Now you just weave in. So to weave in, go through a 6 and 11 and tie a half-inch knot by going under all the threads. Pull a loop, go through the loop, and just guide it so that it sits in front of the 11. And go through a 6, go through the next 11, and repeat that again. Something I do is I use my thumb to put pressure on it so that it stays in front of the 11. Because you know how your thread kind of moves when you're tying a loop. It's just one trick that kind of works for me. You can try it if you want to. And I went through the 6, I went through the next 11. And optionally, you can just come up through one more, but I actually have a knot there. I just discovered, so I'm going to trim now. Pushing down on the work with the scissors and pulling up with the thread. There it is. So what I'm thinking I might do is, I'm going to show that looping step one more time. So how to create that top loop, and then we'll stick an ear wire on there. And if anyone would like to see that second finishing step again, I have another sample for that. So let's get through the loop here on this one. So here's another sample where I'm not sure if this is easy enough to see, but basically what I would do here is I would pick up 5 beads. This is black diamond here. I wanted a solid for Halloween, so that's what I'm working on here. 4 size 11s. I'm exiting in this direction through a peak 11. I'll flip it over and go through the peak 11 on the other side. And then come up through all 4 of those beads again. I'm going to go in this direction through that 11 that we exited originally. Oops. And I know this color is a little hard to see, so I won't spend a lot of time with this one, but you get the idea. I kind of went through that with 4 size 11s and just linked the peaks there. So let's set that one aside and find, I have an almost done sample. Let's see, we're at 343 right now.
Danielle, you're great for time, but some of your students have already commented that this would be great for earrings, of course, and for a pendant, but they have noticed it might be great for a bracelet.
Yes, so I'll show that now. So earlier we were playing and came up with this one where you guys will remember we did this during the Super Duo class too. Actually, I have those with me. I can show you. Where we just kind of share the size 6s. So the same idea, same exact process. And where you would add that middle one, go through one on an existing piece. And you could add another one. The only thing I notice is once you've done that for a bracelet, and you'll run into this when you start making it, the next one down has them offset from each other, because keep in mind it's got 5 points. So 2 things you could do. One is you can make a ring that starts with 6 and then make 6 petals, and you'll always have a center line. Or you could make one that weaves, that kind of like meanders. So it would kind of do this. I haven't done this yet, so I'm really off the cuff. I'm just playing here, but what if we made one that kind of danced along? You know what I mean? It would kind of work. It would just, I'll experiment, and if it works for me, I'll post it, but it would do this. Does that make sense? I'm trying to describe something that I haven't done yet, but last minute, late breaking news idea.
But Danielle, what you're doing right now, I can see it as a really beautiful necklace.
Yeah, that was my next stop. Was like, wow, this could be a necklace too, because as a bracelet, you can see that's the wrist size over that. You wouldn't really get the effect of that weaving like that unless it was flat, or at least on a collar. On a collarbone would be perfect. So yeah, so many ideas here, so many things that you guys can try and play with and do.
Danielle, you did have a question of how to attach the earring component.
Oh yes, let's do that a few times here. I've got a bunch of those. And so what I did with mine is I added a jump ring because I wanted them to face forward. Let me show you what I mean here. So if you add an ear wire, it'll be sideways, which means the earring will be sideways on your ear unless you put a jump ring in there. So what I did is I grabbed my findings pack and pulled a jump ring out. And then I like to use bent nose pliers. You can just use regular chain nose if that's what you've got. I just kind of have this thing where I really love the flat nose and bent nose for opening and closing jump rings. So that's what I'm doing here. And just laterally open the jump ring. And then here's the one we just made. I'm going to go through that loop we created. And can everyone see that it'll sit in a plane there? I'm going to close it. So there's that side. And now I'm switching to regular chain nose. Getting an ear wire here. And paying attention to where on this particular ear wire, the open side of the loop is on this side. So I'm just going to turn laterally like that. Open it. And then close the loop. And there's your earring. And I can do that. I think I've got time to do that once more. So I'll grab another one here. Just getting another jump ring here. Switching back to bent nose and flat nose. Go through that top loop. These would also make, if you have like a mini tree, be cool ornaments too. One more ear wire. All right. And see, it's got movement. It's going to move around while you're wearing it. And you could, of course, make a double and have that as an earring too. You can make the bracelet or the necklace idea we showed you earlier. One more idea I wanted to share just really quick. You can make them reversible. So on this side, I use rose gold metallic on the star, and then I use pearl white on the other. So you could have one that's got some, real dimension to it. And that's the project in a nutshell there. Real quick before I switch back to my other camera, next week, I wanted to show it up close of next week's because it's intricate, and then holding it up in the regular camera, you're just going to see, what looks like just a chain of seed beads, but this is little delicas in a peyote chain with a way to do charms additions. It could also be a bracelet too. But I'm working on one right now that's green, and it has just one single pendant, a large frog pendant. And I'll be posting that this week. I almost had it done today, but then not quite, but it's really cool. So that's next week. I'm going to, I just switched my chat back on by accident, and I did see a question there about, yes, you can make this bigger. Absolutely. If you wanted to make it bigger, one of the things you could do, grab one here, is so you see how you have those sixes? You could just join them. And I would probably do an 11, an 11, 3 6s, and then 2 11s. And that would connect and keep going around, adding layers. Try it and please share because I'd love to see it. I'm curious if anyone else has, oh, go ahead.
Danielle, one of the questions you got is when you add the jump ring, why aren't you adding the ear wire piece at the same time? Because you're opening both separately.
Oh, because that would be clever and I didn't think of it. Sorry. That would have been way better. Sometimes I don't have my ear wires with me, or I don't know what ear wire I want, or I don't know what ear wire my customer is going to ask for. So often in my shop, I've got them just in plastic bags waiting for someone to tell me, hey, put this one on it or that one, or I want gold. Or, but yeah, no real legit reason other than I just didn't think of it.
So even the teacher learned something. And
yes.
Robin wants to know if you're wearing sample earrings from the class today, if that's what you have on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Groovy Grape with turquoise. And there's little Speed Racer yellow in between each one. If you guys can see that or not, I can switch to my other camera. I think we've got just a second. So let's see. There it is. It's going to go into focus. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, so that's Speed Racer yellow, green turquoise, and Groovy Grape. I think it's called Groovy Grape, right? I should know this one. It is my son's favorite. It is, yes, Groovy Grape. Very cool color. Oh, and the other color we used today, that one is gorgeous. The purple. There's that purple with silver, and there's that purple with gold. Same purple. And it is called, it's this one. Oh, it's just called purple, but it is actually a very Aurora Borealis luster finished, gorgeous bead. There's a bunch of them here. It's one of my favorite. It has a twin. It has a twin color. That is, where is that one? Here it is right here. This one, same finish, but in a turquoise. Look at those guys together. And that one is called turquoise. Yeah.
Danielle, you did great for time tonight. Just want to let you know that everyone is definitely sending you great greetings on the sidebar. They definitely enjoyed this class.
Awesome.
And the last question I'm going to ask on their behalf is, they want to know about all the beads behind you.
Yes, this was the most awesome thing. So this is the Michaels planogram. So this is all the things that Michaels has currently in every size. So I kind of did bugles over here, super duos. And then I have size 6s. So this is the size 6 party right here. Right, pulled my turquoise. And I have a sort of color scheme going, but in other cases, I just went crazy and started hanging colors. But here's size 11 and the size 10 counterparts. Here's all the size 8s. And there's a lot of 8s. So, and a lot of 11s, 10s. A lot of 8s. We also have these cubes. These are really cool. I need to do more with them. I've done one project, but I need to do more. You guys will be seeing these. They're like squares, little square shapes. And then, of course, the delicas are here. Yeah, so.
Perfect. You've had quite a few people who've never been beading before that are feeling quite confident now. They really appreciate
awesome.
your class. So thanks
thank
again, Danielle.
I'm glad to hear that. That's great. I love to, new beaders, you know, it's such a great time because you're just like, wow, there's all this stuff I can do. So that's really nice to hear. Thank you. And so there, if there's no more questions, I just want to say thank you on behalf of myself and John Bead and Michaels. And the replay will be on michaels.com/classes. We have class next week on Tuesday, and I hope to see you then. Bye.